Science confirmed a 4.5 millimeter jellyfish could effectively live forever. It does not die from old age. Ever. You're looking at Turritopsis dohrnii, the immortal jellyfish. It's no bigger than your smallest fingernail, a tiny transparent bell drifting through the world's oceans. Like all jellyfish, it begins life as a stationary polyp stuck to the seafloor. It grows, matures, and releases its adult form, the medusa. It hunts, it reproduces, and then it should die. But it doesn't. And here is where the rules of biology completely break down. When faced with starvation, physical damage, or even just old age, the jellyfish does something that should be impossible. It reverses its own life cycle. The adult medusa's cells begin to change. Its bell and tentacles wither and are reabsorbed. It sinks to the ocean floor and transforms back into its infant state, a polyp. Think about that for a second. It's like a butterfly, sensing danger, folding its wings, and turning back into a caterpillar. It is not just healing, it is a complete biological reboot. The official term is transdifferentiation, a process where one type of specialized cell transforms directly into another. Your skin cells becoming heart cells, your nerve cells becoming muscle. Science fiction happening right now in a Petri dish. And the most incredible part? We discovered this entirely by accident. In the late 1980s, a German student, Christian Sommer, was studying these tiny jellyfish. He kept them in dishes, observed them, but they were unremarkable. One day, he left them over a weekend, expecting to return to a dish of dead specimens. Instead, he found a fresh colony of young polyps. He didn't know what he was looking at. Nobody did. The textbooks tell you that life is a one-way street. Birth, growth, decline, death. There are no U-turns. But this creature breaks that fundamental law. It has now been found in the ballast water of ships, from Japan to Spain to the Panama Canal. A silent, immortal invader. We know what it does. We've watched it happen thousands of times in labs. But we have almost no idea how its genes rewrite the rules of life and death. The mechanism is a complete black box. But that's not the most unsettling part. The DNA doesn't just reset. With each cycle, it seems to accumulate information without aging. So the real question isn't how it lives forever, but what is it becoming? A living library? A genetic ghost? With every reset, its cells don't just revert, they remember. Think about what that means for a moment. Your body replaces almost all its cells every 7 to 10 years, but you are still you. Your memories remain. The jellyfish does something similar, but on a genetic level. It's not just repairing itself, it's upgrading. And here's the part that scientists rarely discuss outside of academic journals. The process isn't perfect. With each cycle of rebirth, tiny changes, epigenetic markers, are left on the DNA. It's like a book being restored, but with new notes written in the margins each time. This creature isn't just surviving, it's learning, accumulating data from every life it lives. But who is reading this data? In a small, cluttered lab at Kyoto University, one man has dedicated his life to that question. Dr. Shin Kubota has personally witnessed the rebirth of a single Turritopsis specimen more than 14 times. He keeps it in a simple Petri dish. He feeds it brine shrimp. He even wrote a song about it. To him, this isn't just a specimen, it's a teacher, and it's teaching him a terrifying lesson. The official reports state the jellyfish reverts to a polyp. This is true, but Kubota's meticulous notes from 2011 reveal a detail that is almost always omitted. The new polyp isn't just a clone, it's often stronger, more resilient, better adapted to the water conditions in the lab dish than the parent Medusa was. It's evolution happening in a week, not over millennia. So how does it do it? The mechanism is called transdifferentiation, and you need to understand how alien this is. Imagine you scrape your knee. Your skin cells divide to make more skin cells. Simple. The jellyfish takes a fully formed muscle cell from its swimming bell and commands it to become a nerve cell, or a stinging cell. It's not using stem cells, the body's universal blocks. It is forcing a cell that has already chosen its career to forget everything it knows and start a completely new one. No other animal can do this so completely. Not one. We have mapped its genome, all 300 million base pairs. But the genetic switches that control this process, they are nowhere to be found. It's like having the blueprint for a skyscraper, but no idea where the elevators or the electrical systems are. The instructions are hidden, or we simply don't have the language to read them. And while we search for answers, it is spreading. The official record from the World Register of Marine Species shows Turritopsis has now been confirmed in every major ocean basin on the planet, from the Mediterranean to Japan, from California to the Panama Canal. It hitches a ride in the ballast water of cargo ships. A few milliliters of water sucked into a tanker in Tokyo can hold a dozen of these tiny medusae. Weeks later, that water is discharged in Los Angeles. A new colony is born, an immortal invasion happening in silence. And this brings us to a paradox. A creature that cannot die of old age and reproduces with ease should have filled the oceans completely by now. You should be swimming in a soup of immortal jellyfish every time you visit the beach. So why aren't you? Because it can be killed. It is fragile, easily eaten by sea turtles, by the giant ocean sunfish, by other jellyfish. It is part of the food chain. Its immortality only protects it from internal clocks, not from external threats. This fact has led most scientists to dismiss it as a mere biological curiosity. An interesting footnote in the story of life. They are missing the point. They are asking how it survives. They should be asking what it survives for. Because the data on its global spread shows something that statistics alone cannot explain. The new colonies aren't random. They are concentrated near deep-sea thermal vents and around underwater volcanic chains, places of extreme chemistry and energy, places where life itself is pushed to its absolute limit. We assumed it was a passive passenger spreading by accident. But what if it isn't? What if it's being drawn to these places? And the real question isn't just what is it becoming, but what is it looking for? The answer isn't a place, but a trigger, a catalyst. You see, those deep-sea thermal vents are not just hot. They are cauldrons of creation. Reaching over 400 degrees Celsius, they spew a soup of minerals and chemicals that support some of the most bizarre life on Earth. Life that thrives without sunlight. Life that eats sulfur. And here's where it gets strange. The official research on Turritopsis focuses almost exclusively on its rejuvenation, the how of its immortality. Few papers dare to ask why it congregates in these specific extreme locations. The textbooks stop right where the story gets interesting. But the data doesn't lie. Since 2005, over 60% of new colony discoveries have been within 50 kilometers of significant geothermal or volcanic activity. This is not a coincidence. This is a pattern. Think about what that means. This creature is actively seeking out the planet's most genetically volatile environments. Why? The answer might force us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about evolution. We have its genetic blueprint. All 300 million base pairs mapped in 2019 by a team at the University of Tokyo. Yet the gene, or set of genes, that triggers its immortality remains completely hidden. It's like having a dictionary where the word for life is missing. The instructions are simply not there. And this is the part that nobody likes to talk about. Maybe we're reading the book all wrong. Maybe the secret isn't a static instruction written in its DNA, but a process, a mechanism for acquiring new instructions. It's a radical theory. It's called horizontal gene transfer. And you need to understand how this works. You get your genes from your parents, vertically, from one generation to the next. Horizontal transfer is different. It's one creature stealing a gene directly from another. A bacterium slurping up a piece of DNA from its neighbor to gain antibiotic resistance. It's common in simple organisms. In a complex animal like a jellyfish, it was considered impossible. Until now. Remember Dr. Shin Kubota and his lab in Kyoto? In 2015, he submitted a paper to the journal Nature. It was rejected. He sent it to Science. Rejected again. He described observing his 15th generation reborn jellyfish. And under the microscope, he found cells containing proteins that simply shouldn't have been there. Proteins that matched genetic markers from extremophile bacteria he was cultivating in the same lab. The implication was clear. The jellyfish hadn't just reset itself. It had incorporated foreign DNA into its new body. It had learned a new genetic word. Think about the global spread again, not as a passive invasion, but as a planetary-scale research project. Each cargo ship is a courier, each deep-sea vent a library. The jellyfish arrives, sinks, and in its process of rebirth, it samples the local genetic code. It picks up a gene for heat resistance here, a gene for surviving high pressure there. It isn't just one immortal creature. It's thousands of scouts, a collective, ever-growing database of survival traits. The official reports will tell you this is speculation, that there is no definitive proof. But they never mention Kubota's rejected paper. They don't explain why competing labs have been unable to replicate the long-term rebirths he has achieved. What if the secret isn't just in the jellyfish, but in its environment? An environment we can't perfectly replicate. We've been hunting for the secret to eternal life, thinking we were the scientists, and it was the specimen. That's a comfortable thought. But it might be dangerously wrong, because in 2018, a new strain of Turritopsis was identified in the Pearl River Delta, one of the most heavily industrialized waterways on Earth. And its DNA contained something never seen before. A sequence that perfectly matched a gene for breaking down hydrocarbons, a gene patented by a biotech corporation and engineered into bacteria used to clean up oil spills. The jellyfish didn't just find a gene, it found one of ours. Read that sentence again. A creature that has perfected the art of survival over millions of years just picked up a genetic tool we invented yesterday. This changes everything. The jellyfish is no longer just a passive specimen in a petri dish. It is an active participant. It is learning from us. And this fact has not gone unnoticed. In labs from Italy to Texas, the race is on. The goal is no longer just to understand the jellyfish, but to copy its work. You see, for every scientist like Shin Kubota who looks at Turritopsis with a sense of wonder, there are 100 others who look at it and see a product. A solution? The ultimate patent. And this is where the story becomes deeply human. Because what they are searching for isn't just knowledge. They are searching for a cure. A cure for the one disease that afflicts every single one of us. Time. In Lecce, Italy, Professor Stefano Pirino has cataloged thousands of specimens. His hands have felt the delicate, almost non-existent weight of these creatures. He once described the feeling as holding a promise made of water. He and his team are not just mapping genes, they are hunting for the switch, the specific molecular trigger that tells a dying cell to become young again. Think about what that means. Your father's heart cells, damaged after a heart attack, could be instructed to rebuild themselves into new, healthy tissue. Your mother's neurons, fading from Alzheimer's, could be told to regenerate their connections. It's the holy grail of regenerative medicine, and it's happening right now in a 4.5 millimeter animal. Dr. Maria Pia Miliera at Texas A&M University has spent years trying to isolate the proteins involved. The work is painstaking, thousands of hours staring through a microscope, watching cells under ultraviolet light, hoping to catch one in the act of changing its mind. The official papers talk about cellular plasticity and gene expression pathways. But what drives the research is the quiet, unspoken hope you see in the eyes of everyone in that lab, the hope of fixing what is broken in us. But here's the part nobody writes in the grant proposals. We are trying to steal fire from the gods. We see a biological process of immense complexity honed by eons of evolution, and we think we can just find the on switch and use it for ourselves. This creature's gift is its ability to revert entirely, to become a blank slate. And we don't want to become a blank slate. We want to live in these bodies with these memories, just without the decay. We want the eternal life, but on our own terms. We've had its complete genetic map since 2019, and we are no closer to finding the master control gene than we were when Christian Summer first saw those polyps in his forgotten dish. The instructions are written in a language we can't read. The blueprint is for a house we don't know how to build. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the secret isn't a single gene we can cut out and paste into our own DNA. Maybe it's the entire symphony, the whole process, working in perfect harmony. Something that cannot be bottled or sold. We look at this tiny floating bell of an animal and we project all our fears and all our desires onto it. We see a cure for our parents, a future for our children, a second chance for ourselves. But we never stop to ask the most important question. What if we succeed? What if we finally find the key, unlock the secret, and learn to reverse our own biology? What happens to us if the cure was never meant for us? The answer is simple. We would take it anyway, because we have fundamentally misunderstood what we are looking at. We see a way to defeat death. The jellyfish demonstrates a way to surrender to life. And those are not the same thing, not at all. The money pouring into this research is staggering. Billions in public grants for cellular reprogramming. An untold amount more from private investors in Silicon Valley, all chasing the same dream, adding more years to their lives. They are funding a search for a fountain of youth, a biological patch to fix the problem of aging. But the jellyfish isn't fixing anything. It is erasing the page and starting again. Think about what that really means. You want to live forever, but as you, with your memories, your experiences, your sense of self. Gosh, the jellyfish gives all of that up. To achieve its rebirth, it must first let go of everything it is. The adult medusa doesn't just get younger, it dissolves. Its entire complex structure collapses into a formless cyst before reforming as a simple polyp. For a human, the equivalent would not be healing. It would be a complete dissolution of the self. A biological reset so profound, the person who emerged would have no memory, no connection to the one who went in. They would share the same DNA. But would they be you? And here's the part that is never discussed in the boardrooms. The official science from 2019 gave us the creature's full genetic map, but it can't tell us what animates it. We have the letters, but not the grammar, the words, but not the story. We are trying to steal a single chapter on immortality from a book written in a language we don't understand. A language of cycles, not straight lines. A language of surrender, not conquest. For millions of years, this tiny creature has been a silent witness. It has survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. It has watched mountains rise and continents drift. It does this not by holding on, but by letting go. It doesn't fight the end of its life. It embraces a new beginning. We look at it and see a tool, a product, a key to unlocking our own desires. But we never stop to consider that we might not be the protagonist of this story. We've spent a century listening to the silence of space, searching for a great intelligence to teach us the secrets of the universe. What if that intelligence has been here all along? Not in the stars, but in the water, an intelligence born of time itself. And it has only one lesson to teach. That true immortality isn't about living forever.